All right. Yesterday we started with this our project. Um, we talked a lot yesterday. We talked about how to group all your elements together. I mean the layout from the HTML. Inside the CSS, we talked about how you can connect to the local fonts by using the font space and some other items that we have been talking about right from day one there. So these are the only things I know that we just added to the list yesterday. But for the other one, it's something that we have been talking about right from day one there. So I won't go over editing again. We need to check this in. You can go back to the video and go over the stuff again for more clarification there. So yeah, I'm going to continue from where we stopped. So let me where's the design? Yeah, so this is the design here. Let me open the design, and currently we are working on the mobile, so which means we need to complete the second section, which is the right part. Yesterday we were able to complete the left section, so today we are going to complete the right section. And under the left section we have this summary text, and we have all these list items, and apart from list item we have this button that you can click on to continue to the next screen, which is what we have here. So we have the summary, we have all these items under the list that we've already grouped them together, and apart from that we have this button. So we need to start with all these. We need to start with the summary, and from there we'll move into the list. So I'm going to place this in here so that I can see what I need to do in my CSS, because you need to look at what you want to do before you start typing any CSS. So in our page, on this page we have this section, which is having that class left, and we have this section, which is the one we want to focus on, and I have this right. And if you can see, inside it we have three items. So we have this h3, which is this summary here. We have this list, which have a bunch of items inside it, which is what is representing all this content. And at the same time we have this button, which is representing the button down here. So I will go into my CSS, and we start targeting each one of these items, starting from this h3, and we make sure that everything are arranged properly. And once we are done with the mobile, we expand this into the desktop or to the tablet, and from there we take it up to the desktop. And after that we are going to deploy our site. That means we are going to make this site available online so that anybody can go there and just check it out. You don't need to come to my site and check this thing on my computer. Just copy the link, paste it in your browser, and you see the results there once you have a correct device and the internet to do this necessary stuff. So from the right side, we need to display it as flex, because there are three items inside it, and since there are three items inside it, we need to place it them on top of each other, because if I save it right now, it will place them side by side, which is not what we want. So we need to place them on top of each other. So we need to stack it by using the colon, and if I do it like this, it will return everything back. So what do we need here? We need a gap, which is the spacing in between all the items here. So if you look at the summary, there is a space here, and after all this list there is another space here, and that's what I want to use the gap for. So if I save it, we are going to have the gap. But if you look at it, the contents are quite jam packing with this edge of the box. But if you look at the original stuff, we have enough room here. So there is a space at the top, the one on the left, the one on the right, and the one on the bottom. And by now you know what you need to use at that place, which is going to be padding, because that is spacing inside the box. And here now I'm using one area so that it matches what I use for the one at the top here. And as you can see now, we're having that space. But if I want more for top and bottom, I can actually add it. Maybe top and bottom should just use 1.5, while the left and right we use this 1 rem. And if I save it, to see that we have more space at the top and down here, like that. But what if I don't want more at the top, I only want it at the bottom? Then here too, I can just use 1.5. We've talked about all this thing before. When you are giving this in a value, whether it is 1, 2, 3, or 4 value, so the way each one of them works then. And as you can see, we have this side, which I'm going to enter the right, the H3, and I think the color is not this. So currently it is using this black color here, so which is not what we have on the design. So let me check the design. If you look at it, the color is different, even though it looks like it is black, but it's not black. It's this kind of a like dark blue that is there. And I think we have a color like this, so I can go up and check one of the color that we already have there. Yeah, it is this one. I know it's not this one. I think it's this dark. It should be this one here, if I'm not mistaken there. So, and if it's not the one, then we just stick with our black. So how do we change it? Just apply color and use your variable. But no, this is not the way you use variable. You need to put the var, which is the way we have, like the way we have it on this line 92. But once I just press enter, it should kind of complete it for me. Or if you want, you can type the var yourself and you place this item inside it. So if I save it now, the color should kind of change to what we're expecting on that line there, like that. And I think it's the same thing too for this button. So the background of this button is going to be the same. But right now, before I get to the button side, we need to talk about this list. So before we get to the button side, we need to talk about the list. So if you check the list again, you see that is the one that is holding all these items, and in between each one of them we have gap. So we need to display this one as flex. We change the direction to column so that it doesn't place them side by side, and we give it a gap so that it can put all the space in between all the items there without you talking to each one of them separately there. So what do we need to do? So let's just go to the right. We have a list. So what do we need? I need to display it as a flex. So once I display it as flex, it's going to put them side by side, which is not what I want. So if I save it now, you see that all this reaction, memory, verbal, and why is the last one not changing? What's the content on that last one? I did not change it. That one should be visual. Why? Why is it having the same thing? So this one should be visual, like this. And once I save it, you see that all these things are going to be put together. So we have reaction, memory, verbal, and we have visual. But this is not the way we're supposed to have them. There's some design that is going to be side by side like this, but this one they are stacked. So we need to change the direction, which is going to be this flex direction, and you pick the correct direction you need to use there. So after changing the direction, what do we need to do? We need to apply gap, which I'm going to be using this around this, what I use from the parent here. For the right, let me use 1.5 here, and here I'm going to use 1 rem. So in between the summary, list, and button, there's going to be 1.5, but in between all these list items, there's going to be 1 rem, or I can even reduce it to these 12 pixels, which is this 0.75, that's 0.75. So then after this one, we need to start working on each one of the items. So if you look at it, each one of the items there, we have a class on it, which is this item. And once I start this class item, whatever I'm doing with it is going to apply it on each one of them on the screen, because they have the same kind of a structure. The difference between them is just the background color and the text color, but the structure of the box is the same. You always have the image and the text by the left, and you have the other text by the right, and that's what I'll be using this item to do that styling. But this reaction, the memory, the verbal and the visual will be the one that will apply the corresponding color on the elements there, like that. So how do we work on this? And something is going on here that we did not cater for yesterday, which I did not check very well. If you look at it, the color of the first text here by the right hand side is not the same thing as what you have here after the slash. So the slash and this 100 is kind of like a different color compared to what you have before that slash. So since this one is having a different style, it means we need to put these two items in another element so that we can target them, because there's no way you can apply different style to this 61 and this slash inside this p. You cannot target uh each one of them. It has to be from the p. But if you want to target each one of them separately, then we can put this one in a span, and this span now is what we can now apply this gray color on later on. So p, we apply the normal color, while the span we change the color of this slash 100 that we have there, which I'm going to copy for the other one because they are the same thing. So I will change this one, I will change this one too, and at the same time I will change this last one so that we can give the same color for this slash 100. In order for you to be able to style a particular element from other elements that are side by side, you need to put them in a container or the element that you need to wrap with the content there, and you can now target this content through the tag in your code there. So here now the p, which is having 72 and this slash 100, will be applying the style here, while the span will change the style on this slash 100 so that it can look like the way we have it here. If I don't do it like this, there is no way you can target 72 and this slash 100% separately inside p. P will be affecting all of them at once. But with the help of this span now, we can actually talk to only what is inside here. We can only talk to this slash 100 without talking about this 72 and stuff like that. So you can't just target any text that is not inside any tag, so it will not work. So you can only target the tag, but the tag will be affecting what is inside it like that. So let's start with the items. So if you look at each item here, you see that there is a border radius going on there. They have the padding inside, and we have the content by this side, and we have this other content by the right hand side. How is it being done? So you look at it, we have this p, we have this second p, and I can talk to each one of them. So I can target the first p, and at the same time I can target the second p that is inside item. But you can actually give each one of them class so that it will be easier for you to target there inside the CSS, but I will be using other selector to do this. So for now, I will just use this right list like this, list, then dot item. So I'm going to give you a background color, which is something that we're going to use to know what is going on the page there. So I'm going to use blue so that we can actually see where each one of them is like that. As you can see, this is the item, but in order for us to see the content that is inside it, I'm going to use the one that is close to this white so that it will give us yes. But later on, all this visual, verbal, memory, and reaction will update the color there like that. But the items, we apply the generic styling on all the items there like that. So if you look at it, the content are jam packed together. We need padding, which I'm going to use 0.5 rem like this, and I think it's small 0.75 rem like this. So we need border radius because the edge of each one of them, it's kind of a curve, so which I'm going to use around that 0.5 rem. For this top and bottom, this one I'm just going to use 0.5. So the spacing of the padding top and bottom will be 0.5, left and right will be 0.7 rem, which is 8 pixels and 12 pixels there. So on the left and the right, it will be 0.75, and on the top and the bottom is going to be this 0.5. And for the radius, we are going to have this 0.5, which is 8 pixels like that. As you can see now, so that it's applying this stuff to all of them. I don't need to start doing this same thing again and again and again on each one of the items. Since I've already given them the same class, Whatever I'm doing with that class, it will affect all of them at once. But any part that you know that is not changing, you can now apply another class that is not the same for all the items that you can now use to target each one of them. So another thing we need to have here is that this icon and the text that by the left hand side, while this 80 and slash 100 here are by the right hand side. You know what to do there. It's just by displaying it flex, because you know that anytime you display any items, anytime you display a container flex, it will put all the item inside it side by side, which is what it's doing right now. But this thing is not balanced. If you look at it vertically, this thing is not balanced. So how to balance the stuff? Since I'm in the row direction, I need to use align item center like this, which is going to talk about the vertical alignment. Since I'm dealing with the row, while justify is talking about horizontal there. So and as you can see, it still look like the thing is not, because of this silly slash here, like that. But how do I move this 80 slash 100 to this right hand side? That's our justify content. So for this justify content, we need to use space between, which is what I explained when we are talking about the flex property. So when you want the space to be distributed in between all the items, yeah, so this is the space that is left in this in between this or inside this item here, or inside this container here. So I want this space to be distributed in between the items, not at the edge like this. So how do I put the space in between and not at the edge? You can use this space between as your justify content. Space between, we apply the spacing in between all the items, not at the end. As you can see now, that space has been distributed in between, not at the edge. So when you use space evenly, it means it will distribute it at the edge too. So it will distribute it in between and it will distribute it at the edge, which is not what I want. Can you see now? It's moving all of them to center because it's distributing the space here, here, here. But that's not what we want. We don't want the space at the edge. We only want it in between the stuff, and that's why we need to use this one here, which is space between, which one you always use a lot when you are dealing with anything like space between, space evenly, or space the other one there, which is space around. So but the one I need right now is space between, and this one will only work if there is a space left in the parent. If there is not even space in the parent, you will not see anything like that, and that's the reason why we'll be forcing a gap of 1 rem in case there is no space in this parent later on. Maybe you add a text and that text is really long there like that, and there is no space in the parent, then you will not see anything. But how do you force a space? That's where gap comes in. Gap will force a space, while justify content space between, we only use the space that is left inside the parent there, like that. So you save this one, you won't really see any changes with this gap because that space is there already. But if there's no space, the gap will kicks in and it will apply a gap of 1 rem so that the content is not going to be jam packed together like that. And as you can see, we just do the stuff that you have been trying to do since by talking to each one of them. That you don't need to talk to each one of them. You talk to the parent, and once you talk to the parent, it will apply the style on all the items that is inside. Once you arrange everything correctly, once you arrange that stuff correctly, then it's going to apply the stuff there. But there is something going on here from the design. Each one of them are having separate background color and the text color here for the first fee that is inside it. So how do we do that one? That's where the second class comes in. So the second class will target each one of the box here, and you cannot change anything you want on it there like that. So yeah, this is just the generic styling for each one of the items that is there. So let me continue with the other generic styling there. So we have this list, we have item, inside it we have p, which is going to be nth of type, like that. So nth of type, I want to target the second p that is inside this parent, which is this one here. So if I target it, inside it the font weight should be 500, which is going to make this 80, 92, 61 and 72 to be in a bold. Can you see 80, 92, 61, 72? They are not just having any weight like that. The weight is bold, so we need to change it to something like that. So let me try 500. If it works, we stay with it, but I can see that it's not. So let me use 700, which should work, but now it's affecting both this 80 and 100, which is not what we want. And that's the reason why we are putting all this slash 100 inside span, so that I can target them separately and apply whatever style I need to put on it. So here now I'm going to target this that span. So the P ends of type again, ends of type, the second one, we have span inside it. So the font weight is not going to be like that, the first one. So we need to reduce the font weight. So it's going to be font weight of 400. So we need to remove this slash 100, the font weight on it. We need to return it back to 400. And if I save it now, you see that only the number at the front are going to have the font weight. Am I targeting this thing correctly? Because it looks like I'm not seeing any changes. Looks like is it using this correct font weight. So let me check. I'll come back to this one first. Let me apply the color there. So let me check that color gray that they are using on it. So, and I think the color that is being used here is this pale blue. So let me try the pale blue. So the color should be that pale blue. Pale blue. So apply it, and I can see that nothing is going on there, and I see the error here. So the dot is missing, because I can see that the weight is not changing, the color too is not changing. So that means something is going on somewhere. And as you can see from here, the dots that we have here is on here. So I add the dot, and once you add the dot, everything is changed now. But that's not the color. So the color is on this pale blue. Let me go and check the other color there. I think it's this light lavender there. Is there any other one? It should be this light lavender. And see the reason we need to use variable here. So instead of you copying this in up and down, what you just need to pass to it is the variable, and it will use whatever that you have on the variable. But I can't still see anything because of the background that is here. So let me remove this background and let us replace each one of them with the correct background that needs to be there. So after removing the background there, this is what we have. But now we need to change each one of them to this correct background and the text that needs to be inside each one of them. So for that red, so where's the red? So for that red, I need to do something with this one. So this lightning color here, it will not work because this background now, we need to light it. So how do I light it? So I'm going to duplicate it by creating a light version of it. So this one I'm going to call it 2. So the first one is this one with the text. But if you look at the background, it's having the same red, but that red is kind of close to the white side. So what we need to do is to change this our lightning, the lightning here of this color. So as you can see, it's using 67, which is like half of the light or dark. But if you take it to around that 87 or 80, you see that it will be close to the white side. But I think let us use 90. I don't know which one. 90 should work. As you can see now, we are now having the same color, but it's having the light version of it here, which is going to be the background one. The same thing for this yellow too. So we need to create yellow too. And what do we need to do? We just need to update its light there. So instead of us using that 56, we change this one to 90, which is going to create a light version of that. It's still the same color. The only thing we are just changing is the lightness of the color, whether you want it to be light or you want it to be a darker color there. So when you use a number less than 50, it will be a dark color of that same particular color that you are working with. But if you use a number greater than 50, then it will keep getting to that light or the white area. So for the green one too, I'm going to duplicate it, change this into 2. Then instead of it to have 37, this one should be around that 92. All of them should just be 90. And for the last one, which is blue, so this one here, the blue will be the text, while the blue 2 will be the background for that last one. So this one too, instead of it to be 45, we change it to 90. It's the same color. The only thing I'm just changing is I'm moving it from the dark area to the light area, so that the background is going to look like what we have on the screen here. It's the same color. So the text color here is the same thing as the background color. The difference between them is just that the lightness of the color. So the background is light while the text is not, and that's the reason why I'm creating each one of them here with the each variant. So we have the normal one and we have the light version of that same color. And for the element I want to apply it on it, then we just select that class and we'll put the necessary stuff that we need to put there like that. So what do we need to do here? So on the right we have the list, we have dot item, and we have dot memory. So what am I doing here? So I'm looking for any item, I'm looking for any element that have class memory. Look at it there. He's looking for any items that have this particular class and this particular class. But now it must be inside list and the list is inside right. So I'm selecting the item just like the way this thing is being selected here. But now we are going further by adding memory there so that it will only target the one that is here, not all of them. When you use item, it will be talking to all of them. But when you now add memory here now, don't forget the first one is the only one that is having it's not even memory, it is reaction. So the first one is reaction. So if you look at it, it's only the first one that have this item and reaction. So when you are dealing with item and memory now, this is the only one that is going to target, because that is the only one that have items and memory. So when you are dealing with the items and verbal, this is what is going to target. And when you are dealing with items and visual, this is the element is going to target. And that's what I'm talking to the CSS here, or that's what I'm using inside my CSS here. Look for any element that have class memory and at the same time it have class item, and it is inside list, and list 2 is inside right. So that's what this thing is talking about here. So let me just duplicate this one, because the first one is reaction, is not memory. So the second one is the memory. So here now what do we want to do? We want to apply background, and this background now is only for this particular elements that have that reaction. So what's the color? What color are we using? So we are using this lightning. So for the background, which is going to be lightning 2, but it's the text, so it's going to be lightning 2 like this. And if I save it, you see that on the page is only that lightning 2 that is having that particular, and this thing is not light. So let me go back there. Why is this 90? Let me use 95 and see. Yeah, I think 95 is okay. 95 is okay. So let me change the other one too to 95, so that everything can use all of them can use the same thing. So we have 95, but they are not going to work yet because we are not using it. So how do we change the text? How do we change the text that is inside it? So we just need to duplicate this one and target the P that is inside it. So we have the P, but which P are we looking for? We are looking for the first P, so which is going to be first of type. So I'm looking for the first P that is inside elements that have these items and reaction, which is inside list, and that list too is inside right. So the first P that is there, I want to change the text color to something else, which is this reaction here, and that's what I'm doing here. So we are looking for the P, but not just any P. It must be the first P, which is inside items that have a class reaction, and that element too is inside this list, and the list is inside right. So what do you want to change? We want to change the color, not the background color, like this. And what are we changing it to? We are changing it to this light color here like this. And if I save it, and if everything is okay, can you see now the text is going to change? And I think all these P here are not that black. The color is not black. It is this no, it is not this one. The color there, let me check. For all these 80, 92, 91, it's like the same thing as what we use for that summary. So where is the summary? The summary is H3. Yeah, this one. That's what we are supposed to use as the color. So where is it? Which is this second type of P? Like that. So where is it? P. This is the color that's supposed to be there. And if I save it now, yeah, all these 80, 92, 61, 72 will be using the same color as this summary, while this /100 is using this light lavender. Are we using the correct color there? Is that the same thing? To me, it looks like they are not the same thing, because this one is looking like it's getting closer to white. So that one I will just call gray, since we don't have the color, and I don't think the color is there. It's not part of the color that we have there. And in order for our design to look nice, so I will just use gray and look for the one that matches the design that we have there. So if I save this in, we should have the gray as all this 100. Yeah, but the gray is not really doing justice to the design. So I will go up a little bit, and until I find the one that is okay. And that is why we need to get the actual stuff instead of you looking for what the design used like that. So another way of doing it is by sampling the color. Actually sample the color. So to sample color, there are a lot of tools you can use on Windows 11 to sample color like that. I think we have this Windows Shift C like that, which is supposed to bring out the color picker. So as you can see, it's going to bring out the color picker. So any color that you move on, it will tell you the code for that particular color. So I can just move on top of this one like that, and it's going to take me the tell me the color there. So if I click on it, it will bring the actual color code, and I can copy it and do whatever I need to do with it. But this will only work when you install this particular application, because it doesn't follow Windows 7 by default. You have to install the application there. So let me just copy this HSL of this thing, and from there I can just paste it inside the store. So paste, and if I save and go back to the page, you should kind of use the same color, and if not, I will leave it like that. So that color is not the major thing. We still have a lot of things to do. All right, so saved, and we should have, yeah, still like the same thing like the former one. So let me just leave it like that. So yeah, we are done with the first one. We need to work on the second one, and in order not to waste time, so I will just duplicate these two, just duplicate it down and update the class that we needed. So instead of this thing to be reaction, what is going to be there is memory. So it's going to be memory like this. But what color is memory using? So memory is using yellow, I think. Yeah, it's using yellow. So what we just need to do here is to replace this color with yellow one. So yellow, come outside. Yeah, is it orange yellow? Is that the name of the color? Let me check again. Yeah, orange yellow, that's the name of the color. So I just need to replace it, and once I save it now, you see it on our page, we should have the same color now, because it's the same structure. The difference between them is just the color that we are applying it. So if I duplicate this one too, the next one is green. So the next one is green, which is going to be this Vaba. So that's the class that I gave it. So I just need to replace the name of this one too, which is going to be green. I know that that thing is containing green. Yeah, green teal. So like this, and if I save it, that one too will work. And lastly, we have that visual. So for the same thing, the only thing that is just changing is the second class that you are using to target each one of them. So this one is going to be visual, or whatever the class name that you are using. And for this one is blue. But the name there is blue. So let me see the full name. So let me see, it should be this callback like this. And if I save it, as you can see, we now have all these items on the page. So we started with the list, which is the one that is stacking them on top of each other. Then after that, we talk to all the items at once to apply the structure. Then after we are done with the structure, we now enter each one of the items that needs to be styled separately. So for the first P, the color there is different, and for the second P, the color too is different, and along with this /100 here. So we target each one of them based on the way it was being arranged on the screen. And again too, for each one of the box, there is a separate color for the text on the left and the background there, and that's the reason why I added this second class to each one of them there. So the reaction to start the first one, the memory to start the second one, the verbal to start the third one, and this one to style the other one. But I notice here that this image and this text, they are not aligned properly. It's because we are not styling it, and it's something that we're supposed to work on, which is what we have there. If you look at it, we have the first P. So where are we targeting the first P? So we are targeting the first P somewhere, which is down here, that we are changing the color, but I don't want to do it down there, so I can do it up here by doing the right, the list, we have item, so the first P, so the first of type. If you want, you can give this in class, but I'm not giving it in class there. That's why I'm using all these other selector to target the first P that is inside. This is the first P here. This is the first P, while this is the second one. And that's the reason why I'm using all the selector here, because I did not give them any class. But if you give them class, then you can target the element through the class there. So this first P here, I need to display it as flex because I want this text and this icon to be aligned properly. But right now they are not. Look at all the icon, they are not aligned. The text is not at the center of the icon. So how do we make sure that this in the center? Is by displaying it as flex. Can you see? Once you display it as flex and you use your AIC, which is align item center, is going to make sure that vertically these two items are centered. So it's not that the text will come down and the icon will be at the top, but they are now jam packed together, so we can apply gap, which is going to be around that 0.5 rem, which is 8 pixels. So between the icon and the text, the space there is going to be this one, and everything is going to be balanced like the way it's supposed to be. So before this code, you see that the text is down. Look at it, the icon is up, the text is down. Icon up, text down. But with the help of this code here, we are talking to that P to arrange everything correctly for us, like that. And how do you do it? You display so that you can align this stuff vertically to center there. And since they are jam packing together now, we need to give it a gap so that I can force a space in between the icon and the text that we have on the screen. So what do we need to do next? We just need to talk to this button too. So the next thing we need to do for the mobile now, before we move to the desktop, is that button that we need to style. And if you look at the style of the button, is using that background color of that lavender. Where are you? Yes, this light lavender as a background color. Nah, that's not it. He's using this gray. Where are you? Yeah, he's using this dark gray, and the color is not using this one. It should be all right. So for the color, it's going to be this, and for the background, it's going to be this, but it's not light lavender. Let me check it. Okay, it is pale blue. The text inside it is pale blue. So this one should be pale blue like this, and once I save it, we should have our button with that background there. So yeah, as you can see now, we have it. So I don't need that border. There is a border there. The border should be none. What do you need? Border radius. We need that edge to be curved. So I'm going to use points, come outside now, 0.75 rem, which is 12 pixels. And if you check again, you see that this our button here is not having space like this. So we need to apply spacing inside the box, which is our padding. So the padding, we're going to have padding top and bottom 1 rem, left and right 2 rem. And if I save it here, it should kind of apply the spacing that we're expecting inside the box. And I can see that this border radius is not up to their own, so I will change this thing back to, I'll change it to 1 rem, which is supposed to give us that same. Nah, it's still not up to it. Let me use 4 rem. Yeah, so now I have the same thing, so that I can work like so look at it. It looks like it is curved. The entire edge is curved. In order for you to have that, you need to increase the border radius until you see that it's giving you the design that you want there, like that. But this thing is not showing it is a button that we can click. So that's cursor. You can use the cursor to change different type of cursors that you want. So yeah, I'm going to be using pointer. which is something that tell the browser that this is something that is clickable. And as you can see now, the hand is not showing here. But if you look at this design, it's actually telling us that the color here is supposed to change when you're on top of it. The color is supposed to change when you're on top of that. Look at it, the color is changing to this linear gradient. So when you are on top of the button, it should be using this gradient, but when you are not there, then it's going to use this normal color. So how do you do that? Still the same thing that we have been doing right from day one. So the button, anytime it is over, so we want to change the background. So now the background is going to be linear gradient, which I'm going to copy the gradient we have on that box by the left, because it's using the same gradient as this box that holds this left side there. So this section left, that is the same gradient that this item is using. Look at it, they are the same thing. So since they are the same thing, I just need to copy that gradient since we've used it somewhere. So which is going to be this one. No. This is box, is the parent. Yeah, this is the left itself. So we need to use the same gradient so that anytime you're on top of the button, that's what it's going to use as the background. So instead of me typing it again, let me just replace it with this value. And if I save it and go back to the page, so anytime you're on top of the button, you should kind of change to that color. Look at it now. Once you leave, it go back to the original color, which is what we are using here. So the background by default is going to be this dark gray blue, but once you move on top of it, which is this over, it will change it to linear gradient. So when you are there, linear gradient. When you are not there, it will use this dark gray. So button over is the style that you want to apply anytime you are on top or when you are hovering on top of the button. Once you leave there, it will change. Go there, it will pick the gradient like this. And we are done with the mobile design. So for this side now, or for this design, we are done with the mobile. But this thing is not going to be okay once you switch to the desktop. So once I switch to the desktop, you are going to see that this thing is just somehow. So we don't want this thing to keep expanding anyhow like this. So how do we do it? We need to know the screen that you are working on, and we need to add media query. So when you're on a bigger screen, we don't want it to be like this. We want them to be side by side. That means this box there should be by the left, while this one should be by the right. So how do we do that? We just need to use our media query. So but before I use media query, I'm going to enter the dev mode so that I can change from one device screen to another one by toggling this device emulator. And as you can see, it's showing like this on this device. And if I want, I'm supposed to make sure that this is covered up, but for now we don't care about that one. So if I switch to tablet now, you see that this thing is not looking nice. So how do we target this tablet screen and apply some style on it there like that? So we need to use our media query to do that. So now down here, no, we are done with the mobile. We want to scale up now. That's why because every style that we have at the top here, we are assuming that it's being used on the mobile. But now we switch the screen to tablet and the design is not looking okay. So we need to make sure that it's kind of okay right from this 768. So what do we need to do? We need to use our media. So on this media here, we need to specify the type as screen, and we have other condition, which is going to be this mean width. So once you have a minimum width of 768 pixels, you want something to happen. So once you have a minimum screen of 768, you want something to happen. And what do you want to happen? You want to move these two side by side. So how do we do that? Look at it. On the main, we're actually displaying it as flex, and we change the direction to column. So the only thing we need to update now on this main is to change the direction back to row. And you know it's the row that is going to place them side by side. So we need to target that main, and once we target it, we change the direction now to row, and that is the one that is going to update the stuff from the way it is before to row. And as you can see now, it changed everything to row. But now we need to move all this content down here. So we need to move it down. So how do we move it down? It's just by using justify content. Justify content now is not talking about vertical, which is going to be center. And if I save it, you look at it, it's not going to the center. Why is it not going to the center? Is because this main is not covering the entire screen. So if I use background color of red, you are going to see that the red is not getting down here. The red actually stop here, and that's what is going on there. So what we can do here is to use a minimum height on this thing, so that we make sure that it's actually getting down on the screen. So look at it now. It's not doing what we are expecting it to do, like this. But this thing is doing something that we don't want. It's doing something that we don't want. So what we don't want there, look at the way it's not doing everything. Everything is just going outside like this. So we need to talk to this thing that we don't just want it to keep expanding anyhow. It needs to stop at a particular side here, like that. So how do we talk to this thing to stop at a particular side? Or again, to how do I talk to that this summary and these results should have the same kind of width in the parent? Because if you look at it now, this left side is now taking a lot of space from this right hand side. That's how Flex used to work sometimes, based on the content that you have inside the item. So any one of the items that have the longer content there is going to take a lot of space, but you can actually talk to each one of them to take equal number of space. So how do we talk to them? If by selecting the right comma and at the same time selecting the left. So I'm selecting both of them at the same time and I'm using this flex one. Flex one here means that the right should be half and the left too should be half. So each one of them should just take one of the parent. And what is one? So the left is going to take one, then the right is going to take one. So what is the addition of this one? It's going to be 2. So if you sum these two numbers together, it will be 2. So that means the first one will take 1/2 and the second one too will take 1/2. So if I separate them, for example now, if I separate this stuff, maybe I gave this one its own this thing and I use flex 2. So what you are saying here is that the right will always be 2 times whatever that is on the left. So what is the total number here? So if you have to use it 2 and 1, the total number is 3. So that means the right is going to take 2/3, while the left is going to take 1/3. That's what this thing is saying there. So whatever the total width of the parent, you are going to take 2 times whatever the left side is going to take here. But if it is 1, it means each one of them will take half. If I save it now, can you see what is going on? It's now the left that is taking more than what is on the what you have on the right is what is taking more than what you have on the left. But if I switch this one to now to 2, and if I switch this one back to 1, you see that it's now the left that is taking more than the right. But if I want them to take the same number of space there, I can just give them 1. So which means this one will be 1/2 and this one too will be 1/2, which is half. And as you can see now, the left is not more than the right and the right is not more than the left, so that we can have the same thing as what we have on the desktop here. But there's a lot of things that is going on here too. There is something that is going on here like that. So what I need to use here is to align them to center. I've already justified content to center, but if you look at it on the vertical axis, they are not centered at all. It's just stretching downward. It's because we've not aligned the content to center too. So here now, we just need to align it to center. And once you align to center, you see that they will go to the center of the page like this. So they will go to the center of the page, but there is something going on here. And if you look at it too, this one is not looking nice like the way we have it on the desktop. If you look at the desktop is actually having a shadow, so that it will look as if it's sitting down on top of this content here. It's sitting down on top of this background. So how do we do it? We need to use our this thing here, our shadow. So what do we need to apply there? We need to use box shadow. So on this element, so box shadow, you know, this first one is how it's moving on the X, the second one is how it's moving on the Y, while the next one is the blur radius, which I'm going to use 10 pixels like this, and the last one is the color that you want to use. So I'm going to be using 00, which is what I mentioned about last time we were talking about this stuff. So I'm not going to it like that because I've already talked about it before. So this one here, we're applying a box shadow, and here now let me apply my background here to be red so that we can see what is going on there like that. So it's applying the shadow on the element here, which is not where I want it to apply the shadow like that. So what do I need to do? One way of solving this problem is that we need to make sure that this content here is at the center of the page, not that it is taking the entire space that we have there. So what I can do here is to remove this 100 VH, but once I remove 100 VH, it's going to create a problem. Everything will be at the top here. So how can we solve the problem? Don't forget the main tool is inside the body, and since it's inside the body, we can actually display this body as flex, which is going to move this one to the center, so that we can now have what we are expecting on that line there like that. So what do we need to do? One way of solving this problem is by moving this content to the center of the page, or we apply the shadow on these items that is inside the box. That is not going to look like what we have there, because if you look at it, the shadow is on the entire box, not this particular one here. So the shadow is on top of this entire box. Or if you want to do it, you can actually apply the shadow directly on the right one here. But I'm not going to do it like that. I'm going to apply it on the entire box. So how do we do that? So what we need to do now is that we need to move this main to the center. And how do we move it to the center? We can display the body as flex, and from there we align it to center and we justify it to center, so that whatever content that is inside the tool, it will align it. So AIC, which is the align item center, and JCC, which is a justify content center. So vertically we are centering this top, and on the horizontal one too we are doing this, and as you can see, it will move it to the center because the main is inside body. And once you display the body as flex and you align it to center, it will move it to center on the vertical axis, and when you justify, it will do it for the horizontal one there like that. And if I remove this red color, you are going to see that we now have this shadow at the back of this element like this. But this is not the way it is, because I can see that there is one silly stuff that is going on with this content here. There is somewhere we are applying padding, and that padding we need to kind of remove it. But before I remove the padding, let us fix this one here. Down here we are having this border radius going on there. Here too we are having the border radius, which is working on the mobile. So if you switch to the mobile, everything is going to work. Why is it working? It's because on the mobile here we are not seeing what is going on with the edge at the top here. So this is the way the design is. But on the desktop, if you look at it, you see that the edge is actually curved for all this particular one here. So everything is curved. So this side is curved, this side is curved, this side is curved, and this side is curved. But on the mobile, we are only doing it for the down one. We are not doing it for the top. So we need to talk to this left side, so that it can apply what we are expecting there. So we need to use this border radius. So instead of us applying it to two sides, we can just apply it to all the sides at once. If I scroll up to where we are applying this in, you see that we only apply it for the bottom left and the bottom right. So where is it? So this is it here. We only apply it for the bottom left, and we only apply it for the bottom right. But now we want this thing to be the same for all of them, not just the bottom only. We want it to apply it to the top here and this side here. So instead of it having 0 0, we just apply 2rm to all of them at once when we're on desktop. On mobile, it's going to do what we have at the top, but once we get to the desktop, it's going to use 2rm for all of them. But this thing is having this white background that we don't need there like that. So this main, we need to remove that background on desktop. We just have a background here to be transparent. Transparent means that you don't want any background. The background will come from all the items that is inside it like that. And if I save it, it's going to remove that white stuff. Then we can now apply the white on this one, and we remove any of this stuff that I'm applying here, which is this align items that I use here. And that is why it looks like this content, they are not touching that box. So look at it now. Everything is going back into shape like that. And again too, we need to apply border radius on this one, so that the parent too is going to have the same shape as the item. If you look at it, the parent is not actually having that shape here. So we need to apply that border radius of 2 rem, which is the same value as what the child is using. So look at it now. It's now look as we have this thing like that. And on this right, we need to give it a background. So the background, so on the right, because it's not really using the background that is here, we need to give the background color of this white. And once we save it now, you see that everything will be in shape like this, which we need to apply border radius here too to make everything work. Because if you look at it now, here now the border radius is not showing again because this right element is not going outside of its parent. So what do we need to do? We need to apply border radius on this side and we need to apply it there. So this is border top right radius and this is the border bottom radius like that. So how do we apply this in? So the border radius for this right one, we don't need it here. We don't need it here. So that's 0. We need it here. That's 2 rem. We need it here. That's another 2 rem. And we don't need it here too. That's 0. And if I save it here now, everything will now be in shape like this. So the only thing we just need to work on is the shadow here because this shadow is not even coming out at all. So I need to shift it down maybe around these 5 pixels, and again too I need to reduce this one here, which is going to be around that 0.05 like this. And if I save it, as you can see, it's going to look like that same design that we are trying to replicate there. So it's going to have that same kind of structure that we have here. So let me go back to this thing and go over everything again. On mobile, we don't have anything like what we just added now. On the mobile at the top, we don't have anything like a border radius for this edge here. But on the desktop, we need to have it. And in order for you to have that edge, it means you need to apply it to all of them. But when you're applying it, this element are inside a particular parent. And that parent on the mobile, we apply a background here. And that background that we apply is not going to work for this desktop. And that's the reason why I changed the background to this transparent there like that. And after we transparent this stuff, it's not having the radius too, because the radius was applied on the items that is inside it. And since the radius was applied on the item that is inside it, you see that this box, it's having this thing going outside. The box is actually going outside. If I apply a particular background there, you are going to see it. So if I use red, you see that the parent is not actually having that radius. So look at it. So we only apply the radius on the box, which is this section here. And again, we only apply the radius on the box, which is on the right here. So that parent now is not having that curve. And if you are applying any shadow or you are putting a background, this is what is going to happen. It's going to be showing this edge. But we don't want to have that edge. We want this thing to have the same kind of the radius, so that it will give the user the illusion that you are actually applying it to the entire box. So we are not really doing it, we are doing it from the content here. So in order for this thing to put this edge here too, we need to make sure that the parent too is using the same border radius as what the item that is inside it is using. And as you can see here, it's using the same thing now. So it will now look as if you are applying it on both of the items, even though it's still showing because of the color that is here. And that's the reason why I'm removing the color, which I'm changing to this transparent, or I can even use white if I want, which is going to be at the back like this. So, and the next thing we have there is that we apply this box shadow, which is what we are using to make sure that this box look as if it's sitting down on top of the background there. Because if I disable this, if you look at it, everything will just be as if it is just like that color there. But using this box shadow, because of the design that we're following there, if you look at it, it looks like this thing have a shadow at the back of the box, which is what I'm doing here too. I can actually increase the shadow to this 10 so that it can come down more. And again too, let me increase this opacity here to maybe around that 0.1 so that you can see it more, that this thing is actually there. And once I save it and everything is okay, it's supposed to change and we are going to see it under this box. But this thing is still not solved yet, like something that is not being taken care of yet here. If I expand the screen, this is tablet. Everything is looking nice on tablet, but that doesn't mean it will look nice on a laptop. And I think we've already even taken care of that myself. I think I've taken care of it because now it's not going more than that width that I think we've taken care of it. So let me check. We've taken care of that one yesterday. So if I scroll up, that's where we are giving it a max width, and that's the reason why it's not going more than this particular stuff, because we've already make sure that this thing is center inside the parent, because we are justifying the stuff to center. If I disable justify to center, as you can see, everything will go to the left side like this. When you're on tablet, it might look like it's center. It's not center. When you go to a bigger screen, that's where you are going to see that it's not center. But we've already taken care of it by using this justify content center. And once you do it, it will move all of them to the center in the horizontal axis there. And for the align too, it will do the same thing when we have it in this form. And based on this now, we have our design. But this design now, nobody can see it until you deploy the site. So nobody can see this your design until you deploy it. So we have the mobile design, and let me remove this background color on the mobile. Let me change the background color to white on mobile, and once it's on desktop, that's where it's going to use this background color. So where is the body? So let me remove this background color. Should be using white by default on mobile so that everything can rhyme. So on mobile, everything will just be white. But once you get to a bigger screen, it's not going to be white like this. It's going to be that pale blue. So let me go down from 768. The background should be this pale blue, which is going to, and if you look at it, we only need to do changes on this 768. But for some design, you have to do changes on 768. You have to do changes on this 1024. You have to do changes for this 1440. You are going to do changes for 1200 and so forth like that, depending on the design you are working on. But currently, for the design, it's kind of a cheap. We only work on 768, and it's still working correctly for other screen size that are bigger than 768, because we've taken care of a lot of things here that is not making this to go wider than the way it's supposed to be like that. But for some design, you have to actually take care of different this screen that we have. So the different breakpoint that we have there. So we have the 768, which is working correctly. We go to the desktop, which is this 1024, is still working. We go to this 1440, is still okay. So we don't need to do anything again. The only thing we need to do now is to deploy our site. And how do we deploy the site? Deployed there, you need to follow the deployment process. So the deployment process here is for you to copy all the project file that you are working on, and you put it on the server that can serve the file to anybody that needs this file. But it goes more than that, because when you are deploying a site, there are things that goes along with it. The first thing you need to get is the domain. So the first thing you need to get is what we call the domain. For example, here now, this Google Meet we are using right now, the domain of this Google is this meet.google.com. So for you to see Google Meet, this is the address you need to type for you to get to this site. And that domain now is a name that you are using to represent the computer that is holding the file that you want to serve to the user, because you don't want to be typing the address of where that computer is located or where the computer is at. But you don't want to be doing this 192.234 whatever stuff. So instead of you cramming all this number, that's where domain now comes in. And the domain is a name that is representing a particular address where that your computer, where you saved all the file that you are sending to the user, are being saved. And once you call this domain, it will resolve the domain first by looking for which IP is being matched to this domain. And once you find the IP, then you need to go to that computer. Your browser will go there. The browser is doing all this magic behind the scene. Your own is just to put the address, and you see that your browser will keep rolling. What it's doing behind the scene is that the address you put there, it needs to check whether this thing is matching a valid domain or not. If it's not matching any valid domain, it will just come back with error. But it's matching a domain, it will look for the IP of that domain, and once you get the IP, it will now go to that computer and fetch the file. But how do you couple all these things together? Because first of all, you need to have hosting plan. That's where you are going to put your all your file. So where all the file of the site is going to be saved, That's what we call the hosting providers. They are the one that give you laptop, they give you the this thing, they give you operating system online that you can use to save all the file that you want to serve to the user. But there is nothing like domain with them. What they are going to give you is just a storage. That storage you save forever file that you need to send to the user anytime they want to visit your site. But that storage, they don't really have any domain attached to it, so you need to purchase domain separately. But luckily for us, the provider we want to use right now to deploy our site come with all these things out of the box, just that you cannot change the domain anyhow. That domain you have to purchase it because it must be a valid domain. But for this provider here, we can use this free hosting platform to host your site, and it will still work. Like, you just put your site there and you don't need to pay. You just need to register. And once you register, you go there, you put all the necessary HTML, CSS, and JavaScript file that you need to upload. It will generate the domain for you, which is going to be the free one, and you can send that link to anybody that want to visit that particular site. But if you want to use your own custom domain, you have to purchase it, and we have a lot of provider online that you can use for domain like that. There's a lot of them. Just type domain online like that. So, and again too, you can't just use any domain anyhow like that. You can't just use anything. You have to check for, you have to check whether somebody is using that name or not, whether somebody is using the name or not. So if somebody is using the name, like now, the Mayovest.com, now we are using it, so you can't just go online and say you want to purchase that domain. They will not allow you to do that because all these domains are connected together online. Because that's how the browser is going to know which computer is holding your file. So once you just go to www.mayovest.com now, what it's going to do first is that which IP is that particular domain is connected to. Then once you find the IP, then it will now go to that computer to fetch the file. So which means no, you can't have two websites using the same kind of like you now, someone have already purchased this domain on this provider here, and you two you now want to go and do like you want to go and purchase that same domain there. It's not possible. So you can only have one. You can have multiple, but you can't have a duplicate domain out there. So once you purchase the domain, nobody else can buy that same domain again unless it expired and you did not pay for the renewal of the stock. So they can, even when if you don't pay for the renewal sef, they will still make it available for you, just that it will not be connected to your site again. You need to renew the stuff like that. And there's a lot of provider online that you can use. One of them that I've used is this GoDaddy here. So we have the GoDaddy. This is a provider that you can use there like that. So as you can see, you can buy domain from them. What you just need to do, you can even host it with them, just like their money is too cost like that, because that everything they are doing there is in dollar. But we have the Nigeria one that you can use, that you can purchase domain. But yeah, for all those ones, there are limited domain that you can get there. So we have the .com, we have the .ng, we have the .com.ng, we have the .org. So based on each one of them you want to purchase, we determine the price like that. So yeah, if I search for rockib.com like this, if somebody is using this, is going to tell you that it is available and that you see the price you'll be paying every year. The price you pay first and the one that you're going to be paying later on. Currently, and this is set to pound sterling, but you can actually change it to dollar so that you do the, each pound is really more than the dollar like that. So you don't want to pay more, you change it to dollar so that they can charge you in dollar instead of pound. But for now, this is asking me to sign it. See, I don't want to sign it. Let me go to another provider, which is this Namecheap. So Namecheap is another provider here that you can use. And this one too, all of them have the same thing. They need to check whether that domain is available or not. So if it is available, you buy it. If it's not available, then they will suggest another name for you to use. Like that, because you can't purchase another domain. Once someone has already purchased that domain, even if it's from other provider, you can't do it from another provider. So that's the reason why before you can buy any domain, you need to search for it first, whether it is available or not. So if it is available, they will tell you and the price will be there. But if it's not available, then they will give you another suggestion that okay, since this one is not available, this is other one that you can actually purchase here like that. And if you are okay with it, you select, you log in to their platform. As you can see, what they have, yes, they have Rockif, and as you can see here, these are the available this thing. Can you see someone is using it, which is it has been registered since 2018. So now if you want to create a domain and you cannot use this rockkeep.com, somebody is using it already. Once somebody has already registered the domain, you cannot use again. So as you can see, you cannot use all this one. You can only bargain with that person if that person want to sell it for you. But if you don't want to use it, you can just go with this other suggestion here. And these are the prices for each one of them. So if you want to use the rockkeep.net, this is what you'll be paying yearly. So you'll be paying 12.98 per year. So if you want to use .org, you'll be paying $7.48 per year and so forth like that. But we don't want to deal with all this thing because we are learning. So we are going to be using this free hosting platform that it's going to generate like a free domain for us like that, but you cannot customize it. That's the problem. You know, with the one you are going to pay for, you can customize it anyhow. But since you are not going to be paying for this one, you cannot customize it. It's going to generate the domain name based on the project that you are working on this platform here. So this Cloudflare is a platform where you can deploy your application. You can, what I mean by deploy, you can host your application, you can buy domain from them and connect it to that application, and a lot of other services that they are offering to website there like that. But for now, we only want to use their free platform there to host this application that we just build now, so that you can share the links for other people to check. Because when you are working and you want to showcase your work, there's no way you'll be sending your computer to, you are here in Ilorin and you want to, or you are there in Lagos or you are here in Ilorin and you want to send work to somebody that is outside of that your area. You can't just send your computer, you say you, no, what you do is you send the link and that person can just paste the link on the browser and we see everything that is related to that particular site. And that's what we want to do right now. So this thing now is already on my system, but there's no way you can test this thing until you see my system. That's not what we want. We want this thing to be testable as long as you have the link to the site. So how do you make sure that this thing is possible? You need to deploy the site. And how do you deploy the site? You need to look for any hosting platform that can, you know, help you with this. And we have a lot of them. But the one we want to use now, right now, is this Cloudflare, which is a platform that you can use to host your site. You can use them to their service to, like, you can buy domain from them and you connect it to your site, so that anytime you want to go to the site, you just type www dot whatever the domain that you are using there, and you get to that site. But here now we want to use the free one because we are learning and we don't want to start paying for something that we are going to be using a lot for other projects like that. So because for each project you need to pay for the hosting and the domain for each one of them, but we don't want to be doing that. So this platform now is going to generate the project this thing for us based on whatever the name you are using. And what is it going on? Why is it not loading now? So let me wait for it. And while it's loading, let me pause the video. All
Because
depend on
you know when you want to select it, you put
yes, I put what?
list. So me, I don't used to do it like that. I will just select the class, go, 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 go. I will not select the one that is on top. Is he right like that, sir?
Like look at it here now. I have this
Hello,
list.
sir.
Yeah, I have this list. I have the list.
Okay, sir.
So
Thank you,
in
sir.
order for us to deploy the stuff, so this Cloudflare here, you need to have an account with them, and it's kind of a cheap. So let me log out. So if I log out, it's going to take us to the screen where you are going to log in or where you are going to create an account. So I've already have an account with them, it's just for me to log in. But for you, if you want to do it later on, you go to Cloudflare, the dash.cloudflare, this is the link here at the top. So the dash.cloudflare.com like this, it will take you to their page. Can you see? They have login and at the same time they have sign up. So if you are coming in for the first time, you can sign up. But since I already have an account, what I just need to do is to sign in. And once you sign in successfully there, this thing don start their wahala again. Let me reload. So once you sign in successfully, there is a lot of things that they are doing. They have a lot of services here that you can apply for there. But the one we want to apply there, or the one we want to use, is the hosting of a static website. So we want to use the what's this one that they are showing right now? It will not go. Why did I log out? The network is, because now without this thing it will not log me in again, and they want to check whether I'm human, and there's something that needs to pop out here, but I'm not seeing anything. I'm not seeing the stuff. Yeah, saying that we need to press something here. Okay, let me try to log in from another screen or from another browser rather. Okay, for this deployment here, now this is what I will do. I will upload this video,
If you press
and
anything, it's
I
not
will, yeah, I will create
going.
a separate video for that. I will create a separate video for
Okay.
that today. So let me quickly upload this because time is going there. So let me stop the video, and once I'm done, once I get done, I will record the video today or tomorrow there. So once I upload it, I will send along with the link there. So this is where I'm going to stop.